great. I just thought that a video might be a little bit easier to answer all of your questions and convey everything that I think is important for you to know about the market. So, as a whole, the market has certainly slowed down a bit. In other words, buyers are not jumping on opportunities as quickly as they used to, and it's for a variety of reasons. Some of which what we're seeing is because there's just a little bit more competition, and buyers have a couple more properties and options for them to look at. So right now, I had looked at exactly similar specs in school district, and it looks I have a couple notes, so we'll go back and forth. But right now, there are 8 homes that are currently active and 8 that are under contract. In addition to that, in the last 90 days, there are 12 properties that have sold. So this is just saying that this area is still desirable, buyers are still purchasing, but they're also not jumping on opportunities as quickly as they did. And that's been happening, I'd say, for the last several weeks or so. Um, and so I guess something to note is the average days on the market are about 40, which is basically saying that home sellers, rather, are accepting offers within 1 month to a month and a half of being on the market. So when I go in and I look at the pricing, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, and I don't want to tell you all what you want to hear, I just want to be super transparent because there's no gain for me to list a property if I'm not going to sell it. And certainly there's no gain for them to list the property and it just sit. Rather, it's a lot more detrimental than beneficial. So the range that we're still looking at is anywhere between 600,000 and $630,000. I don't suggest listing at $630,000, but I do think that $600,000 is still attractive and will get buyers enticed to come into the property. And that's for a couple reasons. So because we've walked through the property, we know the pros and some cons of the property. Of course, the pros are the elevator that goes all the way down to the basement. That's extremely beneficial, and I think that it can open up a larger variety of buyers and different type of buyers, maybe multi-generational, just kind of how they're living. Obviously, so the elevator is a great pro. The pool and in-ground pool has recently, in the last couple of years, become more beneficial for home buyers, so that's great. And of course, the partially finished basement, the walkout through the basement, and again, some versatility that that can bring to a buyer. Now, some of the things that I think might come up when he does come on the market, whether it be with us or not, is there is no garage. Um, some of the bedroom sizes are a little bit odd and a little bit oddly shaped, so it's going to have to fit the right buyer and their family. And then also, it's a bit dated. And what I mean by dated is it's not your HGTV property that buyers are coming in and they will, on a dime, just go and purchase the property. So it needs some work in terms of updating, and it's also a very unique, eclectic property. So just in and itself of it being eclectic and unique, that's already going to require a very specific type of buyer. So keeping all of that in mind, my recommendation for what the market is recommending is starting at $600,000. Now, with that being said, I'm no wizard, so I can't even guarantee that $600,000 is going to sell the property. We do, however, feel very confident in that price, but until buyers are coming in and sharing their feedback and what they see value in the property, that's for us to go ahead and put it on the market and take into consideration any feedback that we get. However, $600,000 is something that we do feel confident that will get this done and sell it within the average days of the market, which is about 30 to 40 days, give or take. Um, Now, when it comes to the winter season, I think less of the seasons and I think more of the upcoming holidays. So historically around the holidays, it does get a little bit slower. So I don't suggest listing a property the weekend of Thanksgiving, the weekend of Christmas, or anything like that. However, I don't see anything wrong with selling a property in the winter time because I find that the most motivated buyers are out there in the winter. In other words, and this is being hypothetical because we can have a very mild winter, but hypothetically, if they're walking through a foot of snow, they're likely to be motivated buyers that are looking to purchase now, as opposed to many homeowners that are thinking, I will just list after the winter or after the holidays. And what that does is it brings a little bit more competition to the marketplace. So, not necessarily a seasonal thing, in my opinion, but more of a holiday situation when that's going to be placed on the market. So, I guess it all depends on when they are going to Florida and when it's the appropriate time to list. So, happy to talk more about that. When it comes to a pre-home inspection, like a pre-listing inspection, I'm not a huge fan for a couple of reasons. One, I don't suggest digging in your pocket and pulling out five, six, $700 for maybe peace of mind, unless a couple things are true. One, that they have intentions of actually making adjustments or fixes or addressing whatever's on the report, or two, if they have any inclination that maybe something is wrong and something does need to be addressed. So, playing devil's advocate, if they do get a pre-listing inspection, what does that mean? Do they plan on addressing items? Like, what would be the game plan? Because at that point, you want to play an open book and you want to be able to share that inspection with prospective buyers. Um, I don't recommend doing that because I feel like you're kind of pre-negotiating with yourself before you have to. I find a lot of inspection reports that buyers don't ask for the things that I think sellers would go in and fix anyway because they feel obligated to. So I'm not a fan. I just say let the buyers make the decisions and then set the appropriate expectations for both parties of what we're looking for in terms of if they do choose to get an inspection. And of course, what it is that the sellers are willing to do at that point, because they're not obligated to really do anything. In addition to that, the home buyer warranty that you asked for, also not a huge fan because it going to share that maybe there needs to be a home buyer warranty? Could that bring red flags? I'm not a huge fan. I would much rather use a home warranty as negotiation if and when we have to get to that point. So I wouldn't necessarily do anything with either one, and that's just my opinion. I guess something else that I'm curious about is, do you know if they would be opposed to maybe getting the home staged? And what I mean by that is, I know that they're moving all their things out, they're getting everything out, but because it is a unique property and because it's going to be vacant, I wonder if they would benefit from getting the property staged. Now, this is, of course, an investment. It's about a $2,500 investment, and it's placing furniture and items in unique spaces so that it shows it off to buyers. Buyers are not really great at walking into a vacant property and visualizing themselves, so staging could be a great avenue for this. Not 100% necessary, but I do think would be incredibly helpful for the sale of this property. And then the elephant in the room, commission. Um, you've probably heard a lot of realtors talk about this new rule of commissions. I'm not in agreement, and that's why I'm in quotations because commissions have always been negotiable and will always be negotiable. And so there are several ways for sellers to go about this. You could either offer compensation to a buyer's agent, assuming there's a buyer's agent in a transaction, which historically there are two agents in a transaction. There's a listing agent and a buyer's agent. Traditionally, that's about how 80% of homes are sold. So something to keep in mind. So they can offer compensation up front if if a buyer's agent brings a qualified buyer to the table and we get to settlement. So that's an option. They can choose not to pay any commission, which I'm not suggesting. I think that when that does happen, buyers and buyer agents tend to steer towards other properties that are paying compensation. Otherwise, it's the buyer's responsibility. And last but not least, I always say you can wait for an offer to come in and see what the commission is negotiated. So I'm happy to talk about commission. I've always said that it's negotiable and it's worth the conversation, and we could come to an agreement about commission. commission will never be the reason why I don't do business with somebody. And if it makes sense for both parties, great. And if not, then we just won't do business together. And that's totally okay. So let me just browse through your email. I just want to make sure that I kind of hit all of the points that you were asking about. Um, yeah, my recommendation going back to the seasonal and the time of year, I can't predict what January is going to be like or what the new year is going to be like. I don't know what the market's going to look like. So everything I'm discussing is today and what's going on today. And in 2 to 3 weeks post election, I might be saying something completely different and the market might be translating something different. So essentially, I would say if they plan on listing it, I would do it right before Thanksgiving, like a week or two before Thanksgiving. And if timing isn't appropriate for them to do that, then I would do it right after Thanksgiving. However, I would take the time, weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, to pre market the property as a coming soon to start enticing buyers so that when it does come on the market, there are already showings and tours scheduled and planned. If you have any questions or if Eugene has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. While I would love the opportunity to